justly, love kindness, and walk humbly with God. You know, it almost sounds like the Scouts' oath: be fair, be nice, and be humble. Doesn't that sound easy? Doesn't that sound real churchified, real Christian like and simple? Just be fair, be nice, and be humble. If you're within arm's reach of somebody, on both sides, take their hands and look at whoever you choose to look at. Take somebody's hand on both sides. Take somebody's hands on both sides and look at whichever one you choose to look at and say, be fair, be nice, and be humble. Now look at the person that you didn't look at. Look at the person that you didn't look at and tell them, be fair, be nice, and be humble. Now, doesn't that sound like something Mama would have told us? Yeah, that just sounds like something Mama would tell us when we were going outside to play. Be fair, be nice, and be humble. And how does God say it? He says, do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly. Have you ever tried to get a peel down a dog's throat? Many times. I know you have. With that Weimaraner, I know you have. But the truth of the matter is, it's not a pretty sight. My 100-pound German Shepherd remix sprung his foot regularly. He would jump off of the deck, and his heavy body really would just crush the pavement, just too much for that kind of activity. Whenever I would take him to the vet, they would always say, when it's time for him to get out of the truck, lift him out and don't allow him to jump down from the truck. It was just too much weight to land on his feet. I had to fight with him sometimes 3 times a day to get him to swallow a pill. I did it for Remix's welfare. My ankles, my feet never hurt when he jumped down from the deck. But his did. It was evident in the holding up of his paw. It was evidence in the hop. It was evidence. But for him, taking that pill was hard to swallow. Now, the pills worked well. As a matter of fact, they may have worked too well. Remix would still be injured, but the pills would remove the pain. And when the pain was not there, back to the deck he would go, and jumping off of the deck he would, because the pills sort of removed the pain, and the absence of pain caused him to believe that the problem was solved. He didn't realize the damage he could do to himself, and many times I had to fight to keep him still, to take this pill for his own good. Then I had to corral him so he wouldn't harm himself more. I couldn't let him play. I couldn't let him chase things, couldn't let him walk for more than a few yards. Why? Because I care for Remix's welfare. But for a 100-pound German Shepherd, it was only a hard pill to swallow. Do you know that that's the way life is. We can be in difficult situations and we're not even aware of the danger we're in and where we put ourselves by jumping off the deck. We will casually, blithely go our way thinking that everything is all right until someone or something pulls up short. In the life of Israel, God had to wrestle with his people to keep them from hurting themselves. God was not being mean. God did it because he cared for his people. God wrestled them. He held them. He held Israel to himself. Even when they wanted to get a loose and do their own thing, he held them close to himself because he cared for Israel. Holding Israel to himself and not allowing them to do what they wanted to do was a hard pill to swallow. God sent Moses to Pharaoh with one message: let my people go. And God, through Moses' leadership, led the people out of bondage to the promised land. The people came out of bondage kicking, screaming, and wanting to go back. God said to the Hebrew people, listen, I will be your God and you will be my people. God's love of freeing the Hebrew people from slavery and giving them the promised land were only the first ways that God would hold up his end of the deal to Israel. God promised to continue to provide for Israel, but it was a covenant relationship. It was a two-way street. God says, I will be your God and you will be my people. Both parties in a covenant have responsibilities. Both have required behaviors. Both parties have required actions that sustain and maintain the relationship. Listen to the text. God made a covenant with the Hebrew people by saying, I will be your God. God has made that covenant with us today saying, I will be your God. Now, if you ever wanted to know what is it, somebody said to me today, well, one of the reasons why people read the bulletins when you preach, Pastor, and one of the reasons why people read the bulletins when the choir is singing is because they are afraid of losing control of themselves. I say, wow. He says the Spirit of God is so powerful in the church that some people literally have to read their bulletin to keep the Spirit to keep their minds off of what's going on so that that Spirit won't overtake them, because if it overtakes them, it will cause them to do something that they don't want to do in public. I said, how do you know? He said, because I do it all the time. I said, you got to be kidding. He says, I will be your God. I will be your God. You ever wanted something to shout about? That is. I will be your God, says the Lord. And when God says, I will be your God, he's saying, I will be your keeper. I will provide for you. I will take care of you. I will pick you up when you're falling down. I will bring you down when you get too high. When you get outdoors, I will bring you in. When you get in, I'll take you up. God is saying, I will be your God. I'll feed you when you get hungry. I'll put clothes on your back. I'll put healing in your body, strength in your body. I'll put walking in your legs. I'll be your God. I'll put talking in your mouth. I'll put hearing in your ears. I'll put smelling in your nose. I'll put sight in your eyes. When he says, I will be your God, I will provide for you. I'll put food on your table. I'll be your God. But it's a covenant relationship. He says, God says, I will be your God. That's my part. In this covenant relationship, I will be your God, but you will be my people. You will bless that wonderful name, Jesus. You will praise him continually. You will be my people. You will have no other God besides me. You will call on my name and I will hear you. You will forsake all other gods for me. I will be your God. And you will be my people. Now, hear me when I tell you, Israel was glad when God said to them, I will be your God. Because they felt that we had it made in the shade. There were no requirements upon God saying, I will be your God. But when he says, you will be my people, that was a hard pill to swallow. And God had a covenant requirement for the Hebrews, and he gave it to them in simple terms. And I discovered that the Greek and the Hebrew is not really what God's trying to get us to understand. He's really trying to get us to understand the simple things of the text. He's really trying to get us the simple part of the covenant. I will be your God, you will be my people, and here are the requirements for being my people. He says, love me. He says, love me. By this shall all men know that you are my disciples indeed, when you have love one for another. So he says, love me. But then he says, love yourselves. And do you know that loving God became a hard pill to swallow for Israel? Which is the modern day church. It became a hard pill to swallow. But he says, love me. He says, love yourselves. Love yourselves. Love yourselves. But then he says, the third part of this covenant is love others just as I have loved you. And will y'all hear me when I tell you this morning, it was a hard pill to swallow. Look at what God has said. I'll do all of this for you, and all I'm asking for you to do is love me. If I wake you up, love me. I put food on your table, love me. I put breath in your body, love me. That's all I ask. The second part of what I require of you is that you love yourself. If I clothe you and put you in your right mind, love yourself. I provide all the things that you ask for me and I'm able to do it because I'm your father and I know what you have need of. Love yourself. And the nation of God, they saw themselves as God's chosen people. But in God's eyes, God did not see Israel like Israel saw Israel. I wish I had a witness. I said, they saw themselves as the chosen ones, but that's not how God saw them. And I wonder, am I talking to somebody today who knows some people? I know it ain't us in here, but you know some people. You know some people who see themselves in a way that God does not see us. And the reason why we see ourselves one way and God sees us another way is because man looks at the outside. Man looks at how pressly, how nice and white your shirt is. Man looks at how straight and black your tie is. Man looks at how nice your hair is fixed. Man looks at how your shoes are shining, what you drove up in. But God looks at your heart. God looks at your heart. And so he says in this text, as he looked at Israel's heart, he listened to what they said about themselves. You see, Israel was standing in the mirror singing, "How great thou art." And God said to them, "Listen, I got something for you. Do justice, love kindness, walk humbly with God." If you want to sing "How great thou art," this pill ought not be too hard for you to swallow. Since you can sing you can sit in the mirror and sing "How great thou art," this pill ought not be too hard to swallow. Just do justice, love kindness, walk humbly with God. 3 little pills, not much to swallow, but it's hard to get them into Israel's life. First, God tells them what they must do. First of all, he says justice. So I want to ask, what is justice? Justice is not necessarily what happened in Baltimore when they tore up the CVS. It's not justice. It's not justice when you burn up a police car. It's not justice. It's not justice when you set the schoolhouse on fire, not your school. It's not justice when you burn up the Southern Baptist Church, Dante Hickman, our frat brothers church in Baltimore, Maryland. It's not justice. I understand the message. But the method, God says, do justice. You may have a message that needs to be heard. But God says, do justice. And so since God was saying, do justice in a time when I'm watching what's happening in Baltimore and what happened in New York and Charleston and Ferguson, I began to ask, what is justice? And God says, I'll explain to you what justice is. Justice, first of all, is honesty. Do you know how hard it is to get people to be honest these days? You just can't get honesty. I have never in all of my days heard anybody request a DA to be pulled off of a trial that was dealing with policemen. Because always you wanted the prosecutor to be there because that's the one who was going to serve in the best interest of the police department. Now they say, give us another DA because this one will not give us honesty, because justice is honesty. Justice is integrity. Justice is the law. Justice is doing what's right. Justice is due process. Justice is everybody standing back. Stop bombing up your own city. Stop tearing up your own city. Stop tearing up your own grocery stores. Stop tearing up your own drug stores. Stand back and let due process. That's justice. Doing justice involves both personal and social responsibilities. Doing justice compels one never to act in ways that produces injustice. You can act so you cause people to get maced down. So injustice produces injustice. In other words, this is the way Mama said it, 2 wrongs. 2 wrongs don't make a right. And so when somebody has wronged you, you're still required to do justice. You're still required to love kindness. You're still required to walk humbly because God will take care of his own. So to do justice, the way God means it here is to give each person what is due. Figure out what belongs to whom and give it to them. That's what's happening. That's what's trying to happen in Baltimore and Ferguson and Charleston. And we're called to do justice here in our community. We're called to do justice. It's not easy to act for the best interest of all and set your personal preferences aside, but God is saying, do justly. God did not call us to just do justice. Hard as it is, he says, I need you, I decree you to do justice. But that's not all I declare of you for this covenant relationship. I also have called you to love kindness. Somebody say that with me. Love kindness. Love kindness. Love kindness. Now, that really sounds like it ought to be a pretty easy pill to swallow, but it's not. What is kindness? What is kindness? Kindness, it sounds like in the text he's saying, just be nice. It sounds like in the text he's saying, just be polite. Nice has nothing to do with this. To love kindness is to live. It's not being it's not being, it's living. It's who we are. He's saying love kindness. It's living in a relationship where there is faithfulness, where there is loyalty, where honest concerns for the welfare of others are. It's being patient. Loving kindness is being tolerant. I mean, if you were in Sunday school ever in your life, one of the first verses we were taught was love hides. It covers a multitude of faults. And so he says here, loving kindness is the Hebrew term means hesed, H-E-S-E-D, hesed, which translates kindness. And so God is calling the community, regardless of what the police do, regardless of what the people do, God is calling the Christian community to kindness. God is calling the church community to kindness. But what else does love kindness mean? It means mercy. But when I looked up this and when I researched this, it really says that there's no one English word that can express the meaning of love, kindness, fair. I mean, it means a covenant faithfulness. It means compassion. It means loyal love, not just love, but a loyal love, loving devotion, a steadfast love. All of these are attempts to translate the term love kindness. It is often used to describe God's faithful action throughout history on behalf of God's people. In other words, I think one of the caravans said it well, he was always there. He was there all the time. Who am I talking to can at least say God has always been there? Am I talking to somebody who can say this morning that God has always been there? Through the storm, through the rain, through sickness, through pain, God has always been there. And that's what I like about this text when he says love kindness. It's really saying to us, it's showing us God's faithful action throughout history toward us. He's always been there. I mean, how did you feel when you came out the wilderness? He was there. How did you feel when he brought you through whatever he brought you through? He was there. Love kindness can be used to people who are expected to respond to God with a steadfast loyalty and love that reflected the compassion and the grace that God demonstrated to them. So that's not all he's saying. He's saying walk humbly. He's saying in this text, he's saying do justice. In other words, have a mutual respect. But then he says in this text, he says love kindness. And that can be scary and can be hard because sometimes we don't want to sit with people who are too much different from us. Uneducated, unemployed, disenfranchised, downtrodden, hungry. Well, if you are educated, you're in the minority. If you got it made and in the shade, you're in the minority. If things are well for you in life is a bag of chips, you're in the minority. Look at the people walking the streets of Baltimore. They walk the streets of Rochester. They hurt in Rochester. They hurt in Van Arca. They hurt in Chali. They hurt in Rochester, right where we are. And sometimes it's hard to love kindness the way God says it because we can't see them the way they really are. Then I'm going to leave you when I tell you this. He says there's one more thing that I want you to do. And he says that is walk humbly. This is a very quaint image, but not simple. To walk humbly with God is to live carefully. Carefully. Somebody say carefully. Can God just get us to be careful? Be careful how you treat people. God just, that's all walk humbly means. It just simply means be careful. Be careful how you speak to other people. Be careful how you talk. Be careful that your public life and your private life are not too different. Being humbly before God, it means to be sensitive to the ways of God and God's Spirit. God's ways are just not Rickey Harvey's ways. God's will is not my will. He says, just as my way is above the heavens, so are my ways above your ways and your thoughts. I mean, you can't think for God. You can't understand for God. That's why we come together to hear what is it that God wants from us. That's why we pray, not to tell God, God, good morning. Now today, Lord, these are the things that I would like. 1, this, 2, that, 3, that. That's not why we pray. We pray to hear what it is that God would have us to do. I like it so well, and it's such a hard pill to swallow that sometimes God has to knock us down in order for us to answer him correctly. He had to knock Saul of Tarsus down to the ground for Saul to pray right and say, Lord, what would you have me to do? And so to walk humbly means to be sensitive. To be sensitive. Do you know that even when we come together, that if it's 300 people in here, there are 300 needs in this room right now. And so to walk humbly means to be sensitive. If it's 2 people living in your house, there are at least 2 needs in that house at all times. And so to walk humbly means to be sensitive. If it's 3 people riding in the car, chances are there are 3 different genres of music desired. And I don't know what they're doing in these cars now, but most cars I ride in, you can only play 1 radio station at a time. And so it says, be sensitive. I have to tell Rashad, because Rashad likes to just, the moment he gets to the big screen, it's on Disney, it's on Cartoon Networks, the Xbox, now it's the Wii U. And if you don't ask for a little time, you won't get any. Because he will flip from Cartoon Networks to the Nickelodeon channel. And I'm just waiting to see what's happening in Baltimore. And he got the TV just occupied. Thank God for the computer. To walk humbly is to acknowledge that we do not, here it is and I'm done. To walk humbly is to acknowledge that we do not have it all together. No, we don't. No, we don't. I know somebody told you that you got it. I know somebody told you that you're it, that you are right, that we can't make it without you or without me or without them or him. But to walk humbly is to acknowledge that we do not have it all together. We don't have it all together before God, nor do we have it all together before man. Now here's what we do have. We have our idiosyncrasies. We have our foibles. We have our limits, but we do not know it all. Somebody misinterpreted when they told you that you were smart. You took that to believe that you knew everything. You don't. I don't. That's a hard pill to swallow when you walked around believing that you had it together and that you're right and that you can't be wrong. To walk with God is to live as a servant and not a master. To walk humbly before God is to follow him and not direct him. To walk humbly before God is to listen to him and not act in his stead. Now, this is what we want to reserve. We want to reserve that part for the saints. Well, that's for Mother Teresa. That's for Desmond Tutu. But it's for us to walk humbly before God. If my people who are called by my name would humble yourselves, pray, turn from our wicked ways, seek God's face. God says, first, I will hear from heaven. I'll forgive your sins. I'll heal the land. It's a hard pill to swallow. What does the Lord require of each of us in this room? When I say it, you repeat it with me. As if Mayflower is hitting Pacquiao. To do justice. I think 3 people said that. Mayweather, Pacquiao. Mayweather. Say Mayweather, Pacquiao. Now say this like Mayweather is punching Pacquiao. What does the Lord require of you? To do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with God. Now I need you to say it like you mean it. What does the Lord require of you? To do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with God. I can't hear this side over here. What does the Lord require of thee? To do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with God. What about you over here, both sides right here? What does the Lord require of thee? To do justice, to do justice, to love kindness, to walk humbly with God. Now I got a choir. Wait, stay right there. I want you to do it. Here we go. To do justice, over here. To do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly. Let me hear you. To do justice, to love kindness, to walk humble, to do justice, to love kindness, to walk humbly. Come on, give it to me. To do justice, to love kindness, to walk humbly, to do justice, to love kindness, to walk humbly. Come on, help me, choir. To do justice, to love kindness, walk humbly. Come on, one more time. Everybody in the building, to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly. Come on, choir, help me say it. Come on, choir, help me say it. To do justice, to do justice, to do justice, to love kindness, to love it, to love it, to love it, and then walk humbly. Walk humbly. And if you walk humbly, 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 he'll change lives. He'll change circumstances. He'll change situations. He'll heal sickness. He'll put homes back together. He'll pick you up. He'll turn you around. What does the Lord require of thee? It's a hard pill to swallow. Don't let God wrestle you down to get you to take that pill. Don't let God have to arrest you to get you to swallow that pill. Don't let God have to put you on your bed of affliction to get you to swallow the pill. Just do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly. Lives will change today if we'll keep that covenant relationship with God. Do justice. Do justice. Love kindness. And walk humbly before him while the music plays. While the music plays. God requires a covenant relationship